Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Craftamari Devlog. Now, it's been a little bit since the first episode in this series, maybe a little over 4 years. A lot has happened in that time, not in this mod, just in general. But, yes, so the situation with the mod is, for a while now, my Patreon has had a modded Minecraft server as a incentive at the $5 tier, but I wasn't pushing my Patreon, so I didn't have any Patreon subscribers, Patreons, whatever you call them. And therefore, I hadn't actually bothered setting up the modded Minecraft server because I didn't think it would happen anytime soon. But it did happen, and so I decided to go ahead and I had a choice. I could either continue using the old version of Craftamari from Minecraft 1.11 in December 2016, when I last worked on it, or I could bring things forward and start over again in the modern 1.16. Obviously, I chose 1.16 because there's a lot of fun things added in this update. Specifically, the advanced nether alone, it was worth it for me. The nether was so boring before, having this really makes a big difference. It feels like a huge mod in and of itself compared to 1.11. There's just so many new things in the game, even if the combat's a little different and you have to learn new things. And some of my old features aren't really needed anymore because similar ideas have made their way into the official game. But nonetheless, that is the situation. I'm not sure how long it's been now, a couple weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks since I restarted development on this. We're on the third alpha. I'm not releasing it publicly yet, it's only for Patreon subscribers until the beta. When the beta happens, it's kind of uncertain. It'll be whenever I feel like it's a big enough mod to actually warrant a public release. But anyway, let's go ahead and load up the world. I'm going to be doing this log by memory, so I'm probably going to miss various things. There's a lot of tiny little details, like orange trees spawn in certain biomes and not others, and I won't be able to remember every little thing, and I'm going to have to look things up as well, I'm sure. But I'm just going to try to cover everything I have added and the basics of it, maybe like how to craft it if it's a confusing crafting recipe, and just that stuff in general. So first off, we'll start off by looking at everything I've added. So here's most of what I've added. Yeah, it fills up a double chest at this point. And the only things that didn't fit was potions, which we will obviously look at later. So we'll start things off with the blocks because that is the simplest way. And yeah, so just like the old version, we still have the old crafting station here that lets you craft normal vanilla recipes as well as my own special recipes. In general, I'd put recipes on this thing that I consider either like really intricate, such as crafting glass cups, or things that are really hard, such as crafting obsidian. That's the general idea behind the crafting station. It's kind of just it's a tier up from normal crafting. So after that, we have a whole bunch of blocks here. Obviously, we have all the obsidian blocks that I've added. We've got an obsidian furnace, which just acts like a normal furnace right now. In the future, it will have the ability to use inferno powder as a smelting energy source, or whatever you want to call it, to smelt higher tier stuff. As it is, I don't have anything higher tier in the game to be smelted, and it's also a really big pain to add something. You would not believe how much time that crafting station took. Things have not gotten easier in the past 4 years for Minecraft Forge, that's for sure. Still got the same problems where documentation's not always great. It's really hard to find help for the current version that you're looking for. You can find it for certain versions that are really old, and there's no good way to search, and asking for people, just you see a lot of attitude. They'll be like, you're doing this thing, don't do that. And it's like, well, that's not really very helpful. Maybe explain. So yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, we got stairs, we got walls, we got slabs. Obviously they can be double. We got bars, which was an idea I had. I don't think I did that one before. We still got the doors. We got the one that can be opened by hand, and then this one which cannot. Also the unsecure iron door, which is the same basic idea. I believe I did finally get it to where villagers can open and close these doors. The only problem I think now is I don't know if they count for like village door count, or if that's even still a mechanic in 1.16, because they've redone villages. So I'm not entirely sure on that front. And I believe that in hard mode, zombies can break them down, but I'm not entirely sure on that. And then we also have these little obsidian torches, which I made a custom model for, which I'm quite happy with. They're maybe a little purple, but still. Explosion-proof torches. Obviously, you need to put them on something explosion-proof, otherwise they will just fall, but, you know, it's pretty cool. So that's the obsidian stuff. That is currently the main purpose of the crafting station, besides cups, is just to make that. So, other than that, this purple stuff here kind of stands out, doesn't it? This was a last-second idea for Alpha 3, because originally I had added onyx in the nether, and I was going to re-add onyx to the nether, although I wasn't really sure what I was going to use it for, but I just couldn't get it to generate for whatever reason. Plus I would need to resprite it because they've changed netherrack, so that was also going to be an issue, but I never even got to that point because it wouldn't spawn. And I just kind of gave up on onyx. I decided maybe I'd bring it back in a new dimension some point in the future, but then I realized, you know, why not add dragonstone to the end? You know, they got the end dragon, but I also already had this purple block here, the dragonstone block, from when I was going to add RuneScape related stuff in the very first version of Craftamari. So I had that. I made this, the actual ore block, and now we have that. Right now, it's not really that useful. It's also not super rare, mostly because the end is kind of out and open, so you'll be able to gather it up. I'm not entirely sure if it'll be used maybe for like a diamond equivalent crafting or something, maybe combine it with diamonds to make diamond that lasts a really long time or gets good enchantments or something. Or maybe it'll be used in a tier above diamond, although obviously the game itself has added that as well, which is why onyx is now in a similar issue. So I basically just added this because I didn't want to not add something to the end and have people generate their end and it's just not there. It is also end dragon proof. I've not tested it, but I added the setting for that for all my obsidian stuff too, I believe. So in theory, the dragon won't destroy it because it can spawn in the actual starting island. So yeah, that's the thing. It exists. You can use it in beacons. I will say that it's decorative and it can be used in beacons. And at some point in the future, it will have a special use. So it's definitely valuable. I just don't know why yet. So moving on, I'm just kind of haphazardly jumping around. This is the diamond cutter. It's in a similar state to the obsidian furnace, to where it's obviously going to do the next tier up. It's going to be able to cut obsidian and other things like maybe dragonstone when I add stuff for that. But as it is, it just functions as a normal stone cutter and looks cool. So that's the thing. You just craft it with a diamond on top of a stone cutter. I've not been mentioning the crafting recipes. They're all pretty obvious. You can make obsidian sticks to make the torch and the bars. All the other ones are the same. I believe you surround a furnace with obsidian. Oh, not a furnace, a blast furnace, right? That's what they're called. The furnace that you can find in a village. You surround that in obsidian, I believe, to make that one. Next up, we have pebbles. This was kind of a random idea that I had. I don't know if it's an idea I ever had before, but I just kind of threw it in. I've found this website, I think it's called Blockbench, where you can make Minecraft models and actually visualize them, which makes it so much easier to do. I'm sure there's probably other ways you can do it. I think there's a program you can download too, but I just use the website. But that's how I made this. I'm pretty happy with it. It's mostly just a decorative thing for now. I do have plans for it in the future, sometime in 2021. There's also a snowy variant, because otherwise it's ugly. Kind of surprised that they haven't added snowy variants to things like grass yet, because you go to a snowy area and there'll be things like flowers and stuff just standing out. It's really not that hard, and I like how it looks. It will just generate the snow in situations where snow would generate, such as it's snowing in a snowy area. Or another situation, which we will get to right now, which is Lickwice, which is a completely random idea I had, because I was basically thinking, you know, I want to add another liquid. In the ancient version of Craftamari, I had Blight Water, which was for my corrupted world, which sadly the code for that I believe is completely lost. So I have a lot of my old code, but I don't know if I have that code. And certainly, like, getting it to work would be a pain since I don't even know what version that was programmed in. And I don't have it lying around as far as I know. But yeah, I was thinking, I want to add it, but the problem is it has to interact with water, and that makes things really complicated. And I was thinking, lava works because it does something with water instead of just sits next to it. So then I realized, you know what? Cold would be the same way, wouldn't it? So that is where Liquwice comes in. It's kind of mostly just like an inverted lava texture, to be honest. It's kind of see-through. It actually does glow, but I think it's at like light level 3, so you can barely see it. You won't even notice it out here, so I won't even bother changing it to night. But yeah, it hurts if you touch it. It's not as bad as lava because it doesn't set you on fire. It uses the same code as cactus damage, so I don't know if that makes it any different from the rate that lava hits you, but that is how it damages you. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's very rare. It can be found basically, I think, I don't know for sure exactly where all the little springs can be found, which is spring for the terminology. That's when there's like a single block flowing out of the edge of a cave or a mountainside or something like that water there. Those can spawn pretty much anywhere. They're extremely rare. I have found one while exploring caves, so I do know they work. But they're more common in cold biomes. Unlike water and lava springs, they can spawn out of ice. So ice spikes biomes, I've always found at least 1 or 2 springs in an ice spikes biome. And there can also be little lakes as well, in cold biomes only. I'm trying to do a lot of like biome temperature sensitive stuff. That way, I'll say I'm not designing this mod currently to work with any other mods, but I'm trying to design things loosely when possible, when it's easy, so that things could work. So if you had a mod that adds more biomes and it actually doesn't crash, then my stuff might spawn in your biome based on the temperature and precipitation in that biome, or even in the name. I do some by name as well. I think I have like flower as a spawning thing for strawberries. Speaking of which, my orange tree grew. You didn't really get a good look at the sapling, I think, but this is an orange tree here, and we'll get to that later. So yeah, Liquwice can be frozen solid, which is kind of funny considering it has liquid in the name, basically. This still hurts you if you stand on it. It doesn't hurt you from the side or anything. It just didn't want to, honestly. I don't know if like the cactus is like a slightly different bounding box or something that lets you stand into it, but I didn't want to do that. And I kind of like it only being standing against it because, like, if you were standing here, would you really be pressing your face up against it to the point where it hurt, or would you just be really close to where it's cold? I think it's obvious which one you would choose, but if you're standing on it, obviously it's going to hurt. However, there are ways around that. If you're wearing leather boots, it won't hurt you, and if you have the Frostwalker enchantment, it won't hurt you as well. There is another way, which we'll get to, but those are the 2 easy ways to avoid getting damaged by the old Liquwice there. So you might ask, what's Liquwice for? Not too much right now. It does generate snow, as well as snowy pebbles if there's pebbles next to it. It'll just kind of appear right there, or, maybe right there. Oh, not right there because there's grass. But you get the idea. It spawns snow within a little cube around it. I think it has a distance of 2, whereas the liquid will only do a distance of 1. So you can see, it's kind of like how fire generates from lava, but it's snow. So that's a cool little thing it does, but other than that, that is currently all it does. I do plan to use it for more, but I just thought it was kind of a cool idea, honestly, and it makes for an easy thing because you don't have to worry about how it interacts with things, which it does interact with things. So actually, it would be cool to show off that, so I'm going to start grabbing stuff out of this box that I prepared. So yeah, we can see right here, we do this. See, it just instantly turns into ice. Good stuff. And you can also do this. This is cool. It just instantly does that. If you break it, it just freezes on constantly. Constant freezing. It's fun stuff. If we put it on lava, I can't remember if there's like a special interaction with lava. This is why I said this is kind of by memory, and I've made a lot of decisions. So no, it doesn't do anything special with lava. Too bad. It might do... Actually, it might do something special with the flowing lava. Right? No, wait. I think it's... Lava does something special with it. That's what I'm thinking of here. I'm going to go ahead and put it right there. Yeah, order of operations does matter here. I gotta wait for all this lava to disappear. So yeah, this is two of the other new blocks I added. Pumice, which is a volcanic rock. So obviously it makes sense to come from this. It's really light. My idea is you're going to be able to place it on water as if water were solid. I don't know if that's doable, but that's the general idea behind it. You might also be able to make a boat from it, which would be tougher than a normal boat, but that's a low priority addition. I just needed to get the rocks in now because they do generate in the world. And then the other rock it makes is just andesite. It's, I mean, it's something. You know, I just thought it kind of, like, it's gray. Humus is gray. It kind of fits. So over here, I mentioned Blightwater earlier. The difficulties with it interacting with water. Well, as the very last thing in Alpha 3, I spent literally like a full day dealing with Blightwater. It was a big pain, but I got it. And I'm pretty happy with how it worked out. I will test it with lava and stuff later. I'm going to go ahead and get a bucket of it real quick. We got another bucket there you might have seen. We will be getting to that in a second. Alright, so what happens whenever it touches water? I'm going to turn up the tick speed because that is important for seeing how this does. So yeah, it produces polluted water, and polluted water spreads. So to basically explain polluted water, it has a value between 1 and 15 of how strong it is. Polluted water that's next to Blightwater gets set to 15, and then it can spread out, lowering by 1 each time. It works kind of like how fire does, I believe. So this will become rather big, but it's also constantly ticking down very, very slowly, mind you. But basically, so if you remove the Blightwater, eventually, hours from now, this would be gone. And there are little graphical issues with this. Trust me, after spending a day on this, I was just ready to be done. Oh yeah, they also poison you. Blightwater poisons you for longer than polluted water. And it also depends on your difficulty setting. But it will still poison you in easy, just not for very long. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this works. The only thing is it doesn't kill plants yet. This was a very last-minute decision. Blightwater is very rare. Similar to Lickweiss, it spawns... In its case, it spawns anywhere that's not freezing. It's more common in places where it doesn't rain. And then you can find lakes of it as well in places where it doesn't rain. And the Badlands are the most common place for it. And trying to think what else. Polluted water you can also find in lakes, but only in the Badlands biomes. It's pretty much useless currently. There is no use for polluted water, except maybe for doing damage. I should mention, for both Lickweiss and Blightwater, they don't do damage to everything. They don't damage bosses, the Elder Dragon, the Wither, and the Guardian. I don't remember the name, the underwater guy. Doesn't damage them. In general, they don't damage skeletons, neither of them do. Blightwater just doesn't damage anything that's undead, whereas Lickweiss will damage, I think, like, regular zombies and drowned, and I think those are the only undead, maybe, that it damages. Basic idea was things that don't have water in their body wouldn't get hurt, so skeletons don't have water, husks are all dried out, things like that. It also doesn't damage snow golems, it doesn't damage polar bears. For Lickweiss, that is. This one obviously does. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of mob trap potential there, since it does hurt a lot of mobs. So there's definitely probably some good uses to this stuff. It's extremely rare and hard to find, unless you get lucky. Oh, look at that. But you will eventually find it, as long as you're playing in the world. So that's liquids. I'm very happy with how they turned out, and I'm sure I'll add more liquids someday in the future once I get the graphical issues worked out. And I gotta say, the liquid modding in Forge is very disappointing. a lot of things are still hard-coded. For example, to get it to where I could place this underwater, I had to tell it that my water are signs. Because the only code in the game that overwrites that bit of code is the code. They've added a thing in Forged where you can say something is a sign, and that bypasses the check. Nothing else can, it's all hard-coded. If you want to be able to swim in something, it has to be water. If you want to have the graphical effects of being underwater, it has to be water. Can't be anything else. There's no, like, this is something you can swim in setting. It's just, it is water or it's not. So that's very disappointing. I can't believe after this many years it's still, that annoying, because adding liquids is definitely a common thing in mods. It'd almost be easier to just custom code your entire own system, but whatever. I got it working. It's mostly okay. I think this is just about getting to its maximum size. I did make it where it slows down the rate the further along it gets, so that honestly I just kind of did that. It was mostly not to make it slower at the end, but to make it faster at the beginning, because having it touching the water and there not being any polluted water doesn't look too good. So that's why I did that. I think that's about all there is to currently cover about this. I'm most likely going to be adding the corrupted world idea. I've had some further ideas related to it in the past couple weeks. I don't know when I'll get around to adding it. It will probably require either polluted water or blight water to create the portal. Along with slate, I'm thinking. Slate was always the... Oh, hey, see, with the random tickle on, this has done its thing now, and it's doing it 2 blocks away. Or even 3 in this case. Which oh no, that's just 2. I don't know what I'm thinking. It's 2, but yeah. So slate, I made a new texture for slate. It's got long bits on the side and then little dotty bits on the top. Kind of how slate's kind of flat was the idea. It's not the best texture in the world, but I'm okay with it. It's better than the old one I had, at least. So that's slate. It's tougher than normal rock, but it's not super tough. That's one of the things I had to get rid of was granite. Not granite. Basalt. That was it. I was going to have basalt as like a really tough rock that was often found in the oceans, but they added basalt, so I can't do that anymore. Oh, speaking of which, actually, there was something I was supposed to do. Just put lava on this. Let it spread all the way out, so we get the flowing one as well. Or it just doesn't want to reach that far. That's fine, too. We can handle that. So yeah, this produces blackstone. I don't know much about blackstone, but it looks kind of like cobble, so I made that from the flowing, and then slate from that. So slate is technically renewable, because I think that blight water does recreate from that, so that'll have a source block now, like water does, whereas polluted water does not do that. There is a limited supply of polluted water, unless you create more with blight water, which obviously is not very hard. When I first made this, for the longest time, I had the problem where it would just spread infinitely. I had an ocean going, and it started to lag the game. I had to make a new test world while I was trying to fix it. But anyway, I digress. Back to what we were doing. So yeah, here's pumice, and quartzite is the other new rock I added. I believe quartzite is also slightly stronger than regular stone, but not as strong as slate. I could have those backwards. It doesn't really matter in the end. It just means if your base is built out of it, you might lose a few less blocks to a creeper. Pumice is not strong at all. It's super easy to break. I think you can break it with your hand, actually. I'm gonna go into survival to test that. Yeah, see? So that's pretty easy there. I guess the other thing I forgot to mention, sorry I'm kind of going back and forth, but I just saw it here. This glows with the brightness as well, and Blightwater does too, actually. I think it's a light level of 2, though. Not very bright. But anyway, back to what we're doing. You've seen this block here. This is pyrite. It's completely unobtainable right now. My idea is this will generate in the corrupted world. It's just something, I had the idea. I was thinking about adding it to the main world, but I need to hold some ideas back for the other worlds, otherwise what's going to be the point of them? And it kind of makes sense to have Fool's Gold in the corrupt world, right? I kind of like it personally. Now this right here, this is just polluted ice. It's slightly less slippery than regular ice. That's about it. It turns into polluted water. It comes from polluted water. It melts, I think, slightly easier than polluted water in light. One light level less to melt. Probably kind of lucky this didn't melt it, honestly. Oh yeah, liquid ice is slightly more slippery than regular ice. I don't know how it compares to blue ice. I think it might be less than that. I wanted to leave blue ice something special. But I know there's uses for having ice of different slipperiness, so these two might be of use there. I think that finally covers all these blocks here, at least. We can go over here, though, to the orange tree. So I'm really proud of how I programmed the orange tree this time around. Last time I had hacked it together with an item frame that was invisible and would show the orange. That was the first version of Craftamari. I don't think I even had oranges working in the second version, did I? But this new version does things completely differently. Each one of these leaves has a growth age thing, similar to how crops work. It's basically the same idea. It's just a lot fancier. So, first of all, they only grow it on the side, so they only care about that. The rate that they grow depends on the neighboring ones. So basically, once one starts to grow, then the ones next to it have a greatly reduced chance to grow, and that increases as it gets greater. So eventually, if you never pick this tree, every single block will have an orange on it. And I say block for a reason, because like this corner block can only have one orange. Which side it grows on depends on some math. It will always grow on the same side from this specific coordinate. If you change things, it won't. So like if I blocked off the side it was going to grow on, it would grow on the other. Or if I freed up another side, it might be different. But this tree, as it is, would always grow the oranges in the exact same place. And yeah, eventually it could be completely covered in oranges, but that would take a ridiculous amount of time. It grows similar to regular crops in speed, I guess. Testing that's kind of hard, but obviously you can just plant it and forget it. You have to plant it next to water for the soil, unless you're bone mealing it, and then you can probably get it through. It doesn't check if water's there or anything. So if you bone meal it, you might be able to get away with that. Orange trees are extremely rare right now. They can spawn in warm biomes that have rain. You can't even grow them in cold biomes at all. It won't even let you make the sapling from the seeds. Because you do plant them from seeds. You craft oranges into seeds, and then you plant those. So important advice, if you do run into one in the world, you don't chop it down. You wait for it to grow an orange, which will take a while. And then you can chop it down if you want to, but there's really no reason to. Because, I mean, it does have orange wood, I'll admit. I've got some in here. Orange log and orange planks. They are slightly cool. I don't know why I didn't put them on my hotbar. That would have been smart. You can't really make anything out of these yet because I was focused on just getting the orange trees working. But yeah, it's just slightly more orange than normal stuff. But yeah, that's orange trees. Oranges, they're a food. You can eat them. They're also an ingredient in a potion, which we will look at in a little bit. And just overall, I really like... I don't know why I like it, but I like just having plants growing in Minecraft. Like, I have kind of like a Pokemon mentality towards it, to where I want there to be more and more, and I want to have them all growing, even if I never use any of them. So, I mean, if it was up to me, I would just be adding all the plants in the world. The only thing stopping me is time and lack of spriting ability. Making this orange sprite alone, I remember being really annoying. Something that wasn't annoying, though, is making this 3D representation of it. Although I actually did it the hard way, because that Blockbench website I mentioned can do it automatically. I did it manually, because I didn't realize at the time that that was just something you could import a sprite and it would be laying on the ground in 3D. Which is a thing, so if I ever do it again, you know, if I ever add apple trees or anything, it should be super easy to make that sprite 3D like this. But still, I'm very happy with how this is programmed and just how it works in general. I mean, it's not the prettiest thing. I think the way the old one was done maybe looked prettier, because it was a little more controlled on where the oranges grew. But there's something to be said for chaos there. So we kind of left the strawberries off. They're, for one thing, they're an old feature. They were in the last video. They've not really changed at all. They still just, they grow like a regular crop. I was not able to get them in villages, but they can be found. You can find a strawberry in pillager outpost chests. They're not overly rare in there, but they're not super common either. Oh, you know, orange trees, I was talking about them. They can also spawn in villages. I added them to like the thing that spawns like hay bales and stuff. I think they're relatively common, only from plains ones, mind you, but I don't think they're too rare. They're not guaranteed though. It's probably one of the easiest ways to find them because they're very rare otherwise. Same goes for strawberries. They're extremely rare. They don't grow in cold biomes. I think they need rain. Just like in the old version, swamps are a good place to find them because there's a lot of water and land intermingling. And I also added code to make them more common in flower forests. So that's another thing, and I believe that's a flower forest right there. Sure does look like it. So that could be a chance. Although, you know, with the way rivers work, sometimes the water might be technically in a river, so it might not work quite the same. But the code is there, and they are findable. I have found them myself many times. So, yeah. Ideally, someday I would get it working in the village. Village code is, I don't know, seems harder to deal with than it used to be. There's, like, adding the tree was really annoying. Adding the strawberries just didn't seem to work. I don't know. I tried. I definitely tried. But yeah, so that is all the blocks, I believe. Let me look in here. Make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Oh, technically, the lobster cage is a block, and I definitely have not done that yet. The inventory sprite's kind of ugly for it. So basic idea with the lobster cage, it can go anywhere underwater where there's water above it. So, you know, we can put it against stuff. It'll work faster if it has open water around it. I'm not sure how the math works, so I'm not sure if you would be better off. Like, if you had unlimited lobster cages, I'm not sure if this would be slower than having them all spread out, but maybe having less of them. But definitely this middle one will be slower now, having all these ones around it. But it works like a crop where it randomly ticks up. You can actually... Now, this is a thing. In the last version, I had worms. I re-added them to this one. They are a 5% chance drop from pebbles or a 1% chance drop from snowy pebbles, and they work like bone meal on these in theory. You can hear the noise. I think they can only take it up to the final growth stage, so that's why you're not seeing any lobster, but there's a lobster. So yeah, this is something I'm very proud of. I used the item rendering code and made it where you can actually see the lobster in there. I'm so proud of this. I know it's not anything special, but compared to how the old lobster implementation was going to be, where you would just right-click on it and it would have an inventory inside and you take the lobster out of it. I mean, sure, this one can only have one lobster, which you just right-click to get it. We've got 3 lobsters now. Can't stop me, I got all the lobsters. But yeah, so yeah, it just keeps gaining lobsters. Every time you empty it out, it'll keep growing. You can use worms. The worms, they're kind of just a funny thing. You can feed them to dogs too, which I thought was a funny little thing because I classified them as meat. But yeah, they're just a fun little thing. They give a purpose to pebbles, you could say. They're not really necessary, and I'll still probably have some use for them in the future, whether it's like a composting related use, because I would like a way to create dirt. Yeah, worms might be good for that, or I might have them for fishing or as just a dumb little pet as I originally had planned. But yeah, that's worms. Okay, what else we got? We got a polluted water bucket. You know what that does. There's the obsidian sticks. That's what Dragonstone looks like. Honestly, it's not very pretty. It's just the graphic I had lying around from however many years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. This is Inferno Powder. I did mention it near the start of the video. We'll play with that in a second. There's raw lobster. There is cooked lobster. It's not the best graphic. I might have to mess with it. I didn't make the lobster graphics. I don't remember the name of the guy who did. He was a friend of a friend. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's ugly. It's just like I think the colors could be tweaked slightly to better match the Minecraft look. I mean, it's better than my cup graphics, that's for sure. And my strawberry's not that pretty either, or my strawberry pie. This is the macahoidal. I'm probably saying that wrong. I just kind of tossed this in. It's a thing that I made for the old version of the mod. I don't know how balanced it is. It doesn't have anything special to it. I believe it breaks faster than a diamond sword, but does more damage, is the current balancing. And then we have all the cups, all the different types. I had never added a regular milkshake in the old version for some reason. I had the Sprite for it. It's just milk with a few spots on it. You can fill milk from cows. That's a fun thing you can do. A funny new idea I had was cups of air, which you can just use. They refill your breath. So they're not like extremely useful. They're just kind of a dumb idea. I've got caps lock on for some reason. Okay, game mode. Creative down to survival. So yeah, if we go under here, they make it to where you can last longer, but I don't think you should be able to stay indefinitely. I think eventually it should start to go down. I could be wrong on that. No, see, it's definitely slightly dropping now. But yeah, it's just a funny little thing that I had. Basically what you do is you just craft a cup to turn it into a flipped cup, and then you can fill that cup with air, I think just by like right-clicking on the air. Is how it works. It's a pretty funny thing, but ultimately, I don't know how useful it really is. Cups of water, even less useful than cups of air. They do technically lower your the amount of time you're burning, though, so I don't know if they'd be useful in the nether. I don't know if there's a better way to put out fire in the nether, besides, you know, fire resistance potion thing. But they won't put you out instantly. They just reduce the timer. So that's the only thing they do. They just exist because how can you not have a cup of water? It's kind of a thematic, you know, you could almost say like a role-playing thing. It's just, it has to exist, right? We got cups, you got to be able to have a cup of water. Sugar cookies, they're another old one. They're like cookies, but made with sugar instead of chocolate. Bacon, you craft pork chops into bacon. Bacon's thing now is you can eat it even whenever you're full, because it's just so delicious. I believe that's only cooked bacon. So you can use it to fill your saturation all the way up. And that's about it for bacon. It's not special. It doesn't like do any better than regular pork chops. I believe it's half as good at pork chops, but you get 2 of them, so it balances out. What else? What else? That looks to be it for these items here. I think we have covered just about everything that needs to be covered in there. So the last 3, this is some interesting stuff. Not really, they're not that special. So we have the Potion of Warmth. This will currently just make you immune to the damage from Liquice. I have plans for it in the future. It is made from Inferno Powder and a brewing stand, I believe. That's the recipe. I hope I'm right about that. Next one is the Potion of Antioxidant, which is made from strawberries in the brewing stand, and it makes you immune to poison, which is blight water, polluted water, and cave spiders too. It'll prevent all of those things. Obviously won't prevent damage from cave spiders, but it will at least not let you get poisoned from them. Obviously, if I add the Corrupted World, this is going to be a very valuable potion, which is why I made it relatively easy to get. If you want to extend it, instead of using, what is it used to extend potions? Like redstone dust? But instead of redstone dust, you actually use an orange. So it's fully renewable, not having to waste resources on that, which kind of annoys me about how brewing works, where you're always using crazy resources for stuff. It's a bit more farming focused, this one is. And then the last one, the Potion of Swift Swim. It's made from lobster, just because that's what I've added. I wanted lobsters to have an actual use besides just being, you know, an easy to farm meat source, which could be good for dogs, but this way they also have a use. It does combine with Dolphin's Grace and I think it's Depth Strider, to make you swim even faster. It has a funny little lobster graphic. I just thought that was, you know, funny. Also, that's what's within my graphical capabilities to produce. I'll show you guys the other ones. That is actually, I think, is that Antidote? That's something from, like, the Education Edition as that one. And then that's just that's fire from an existing one. I removed the rest of the icon. So that's all those. But yeah, now we are fully resistant. I can show you. I can now go into the old Blightwater, not take any damage. It's good stuff. But yeah, that is all that. And last but not least, there is Inferno Powder. This is a fun one. Yeah, it doesn't do much in terms of explosion damage, but that is some fire there. So yeah, Inferno Powder, the idea is it's probably going to be how you light the Corrupted World portal. So that's why it exists, besides the fact that I'd already made the sprite for it, and therefore it was easy to implement. You can use it from dispensers, so that is a thing. I don't know why you'd want to do that from dispensers, but it'll definitely get someone's attention if you do. So now we got to go over the crafting recipes for these, which I'm doing game rule. I need to do game mode. This video is a lot longer than I thought it would be. I've added too much to this mod. All right, so crafting recipes. We've already gone over the obsidian ones. What else we got? The Maquahoidal. It's I believe it's like a wooden sword, but then you put 4 obsidian, 2 on each side. That's the crafting for that. Obsidian sticks is obvious. Strawberry pie, I want to say... Oh, I'm going to have to look that one up. Give me a second. I got to go get to my folder where I have all of my information, which is literally just the folder where all the recipes are stored for the mod itself, because that's how they work now. They're stored in files. Okay, strawberry pie. It's wheat, sugar, and then the rest of the grid is strawberries. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strawberries to make a strawberry pie. I don't know how that compares in usefulness, but that is how you make it. Strawberry pies are delicious, and therefore they had to be in the game. Plus, I'd already made the sprite, right? That's the number one reason for me to add something to this mod, is the graphic already exists, because I'm not an artist. Making these things was not easy, the new things I've added. Spent a lot of time on this pyrite making it not look terrible whenever it tiles. And it's still not perfect, but it took a long time to get it to this point. Oh, come on. Yeah, that was a lot of effort. But anyway. Alright, so other crafting recipes. A cup is, I believe, just a piece of glass in the crafting station. What else? What else? You just craft oranges into orange seeds. Anything else? You can make pebbles, actually, in the stone cutter from regular stone. So that's a thing. They are a renewable resource, because normally when you break them, unless you have a silk touch, they're destroyed. They're not an item that falls on the floor when you break the block underneath. They just vanish. So if you want them, you either need silk touch or you just make them yourself. I guess I never mentioned, they do spawn somewhat rarely. They're most common in, like, I believe mountains and deserts is the places that I made them the most common. So that is that. What else? What else? We got all these cups. A lot of them are kind of obvious. Use snowballs to make milkshakes combined with sugar and I think whatever else you're adding. So like an egg for eggnog, an orange for an orange freeze, etc., etc. Cups of orange juice, apple juice. It's just the fruit plus a cup. It's pretty simple stuff. Lobster cage does require the crafting station, and it's iron bars, you know, the iron version of these set in a shape around it. So 4 iron bars like that around it, around a plank, I should say. I believe any type of plank will work, and that makes one of these. So they're not expensive. You can easily make a ton of them, and you definitely should if you want an easy meat source, because you can just kind of leave them sitting there, and as long as you're nearby, they will be generating delicious lobsters, which you can eat or feed to your dogs or turn into silly potions. Yeah, is that all the crafting? I really thought there was more for me to discuss in terms of crafting, but I guess a lot of it's kind of self-explanatory, really. So that is that. Yeah, I think that's everything. Oh, did I ever mention how to make solid liquice? I don't believe I did. I can actually show it off. With the random tick speed up, it will be pretty much an instant process, but in reality, it takes a little bit of time. Just a little. Alright, so the only way to get solid liquice currently is to make insulation. These can be any type of wool, it doesn't matter, you can mix and match, but it does have to be this exact shape. I mean the order you put it in together. Why did I get a second liquice bucket? I'm smart. But yeah, basically all you do is that, and eventually you will come back and open it up, and it will be frozen solid. It's completely random, so you won't like reset a timer by opening it up to check. You just might have it open when it would have done it. But that's the only way to get solid. But as I've said, it doesn't really have much of a use right now. I guess I should explain the lore behind liquice. The basic idea is it's constantly converting heat and other energy into light, and it becomes colder as a result. Normally this balances out is just really cold, but if you insulate it well, this is really not wanting to show off my abilities there, but if you insulate it really well, then it will solidify at like absolute 0 or whatever. I guess I should mention you can also use solid liquice as the insulation. The basic idea would be then once that one froze solid, you could set one right here and then just build up around it and just make it longer and longer. I don't know. I mean, you could do that because the one in there would count. There it goes. It is frozen solid. I just thought that was a fun little idea. Obviously, thematically, it doesn't always make the most sense. And it does melt. It can't be placed in the nether, I believe. You might be able to place the solid one, but if it melts, it will just vanish, just like regular water, because it is actually water. As I mentioned earlier, all my liquids are technically water, and getting rid of vanilla features from it can take some effort. So yeah, I feel like I'm missing something, but I don't think I am. I haven't added any new entities yet. I thought about adding a new type of golem, maybe. I have graphics for gold golem, and I do have an idea where it would be a weaker golem that heals up slowly. And I had also thought about a dragonstone golem that was slightly stronger than a regular steel golem or iron golem, whatever they're called. It's been too long. I didn't play Minecraft for most of the past 4 years, so I'm a little rusty on the current features in the game and the terminologies. I had forgotten snow golems exist. They originally didn't work with snowy pebbles because I didn't remember they existed. In fact, liquice originally hurt them because it was after I added liquice that I finally remembered that snow golems exist. Oh, you can also craft snowy pebbles with pebbles and snow, so that's a thing. That is definitely a thing that can occur. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There are all the potion variants. We can go ahead. I call it Swift Swim, which is a Pokemon thing. It's not the best name, but you know, yeah, you get all these different potion variants for all of them. I like the name antioxidant more than I probably should. It's just antidote plus antioxidant, but you know, it's not a word that's really been used much on the internet. I always like it whenever I come up with something like that and it's not really been used before, so that is a thing. Yeah, as I mentioned, like the extended version of this is from oranges, so that's fun. I'm trying to think. I think we're basically winding down this episode at this point. If I've forgotten something, I will be making a website, and I'm sure I did. I didn't go over all the details, like what specific biomes things can be found in, and specific rates, and all sorts of things, like specific blast resistances for blocks and stuff. All of that will come whenever I make a website for this mod, which will happen before the beta release, whenever that may be, months from now, is all I can really say. I don't think it'll be anytime super soon. But yeah, I guess we could kill off this, let it slowly recover. It really takes a long time. because basically how it's going to work is like this stuff over here is going to have to tick down slowly before the stuff at the end really starts to go away. So it'll stay big for a long time and then just kind of all disappear relatively quick. So we won't really get to see anything from it, but besides the fact that it's still there. And obviously we've increased the game tick speed by slightly less than 100x, not 100%, but almost 100 times, because it went from 3 to 250, which is, it's not 100, but it's pretty close. Yeah, you won't see it moving like that constantly, but that is how that works. But yeah, so the future plans, I got plans to add extra dimensions, I got plans to add a whole lot of new interactions for the Blight Water, to make it a little more interesting. I actually had an idea recently, so it's something I've been thinking of. The corrupt world has corrupt dirt, so obviously Blight Water should turn dirt into corrupt dirt. I was also considering adding a type of grass that was stronger than normal grass, you know, kind of like slightly more blast resistant, kind of like how slate is. And I thought, obviously, it would be corrupt grass would be the one that you would use for that. And then yesterday I had the idea of what if that corrupt grass was kind of like Tiberium from the Command & Conquer series. I don't know how well that will really work, but it's an interesting idea to kind of move some Command & Conquer inspiration into the corrupted world, because I had never considered that before, but there's definitely some potential there. Graphically, I might not be able to realize that potential, but the potential is there to have it where it kind of grows into big crystals in places and stuff. That would be really cool. All that's to say, you know, I think Blight will probably convert any dirt or grass that it touches into corrupt versions of them, just like how it does polluted water. It won't spread, though. I'm not going to introduce anything to the main world like that. None of that Terraria stuff, because Minecraft worlds are a bit more permanent feeling than Terraria. Destruction is a bit less allowed. So yeah, if I might add a dimension where that is a thing, though. Not specifically with like corrupt grass versus normal grass or anything, but just a dimension where things like that can happen, where there'll be competing resources that fight each other, growing back and forth. So you'd be seeing stuff like this happening all over the world. Kind of like a light and dark world type thing or something. I don't know, that's a long way away idea. I've got a lot of ideas that are much more realistic to implement and that I would want to implement first. I guess something I should say is, so for the world generation and all that stuff, one of the big priorities for Alpha 3 was for me to get things in so that people who are playing, which right now is just me and one Patreon subscriber, but in the future could be more people. Patreon's still open, obviously, and obviously eventually I'll be releasing it, but the idea was I wanted to get things in that generate in the main world so that we wouldn't have to restart the world. So I'm kind of locked in where I can't add too many more things to this world. I mean, obviously I might keep adding fruits and vegetables and stuff, but as far as ores and stuff, I tried to get everything in that I wanted in the main world now. So we got 3 new types of rocks, we got a new ore for the end, and we got 2 new types of water, and got a couple different plants that can appear, and it feels pretty good. I'm not trying to change vanilla Minecraft's like cycle all that much. Like, I don't want to make beating the end dragon too easy, which some could say it already is, but I don't want it to be where you can just go in and get all my mods stuff super easily and just blast through the end in like 10 minutes just because my stuff's overpowered and not because you're good at the game. So I'm trying to keep my influence there at a minimum. Obviously, the obsidian stuff is overpowered, and I'm kind of going back and forth on adding obsidian ladders because obviously they could be useful for climbing those towers in the end for the dragon fight. So I'm not sure if I'm going to add obsidian ladders yet or not, or if I did, maybe they would have to somehow require beating the dragon or something. I don't know. But yeah, this stuff's slightly useful. You know, you can have now a furnace sitting in there. Why am I throwing stuff? Sitting in the end that the dragon can't destroy. You can have doors and stuff, torches. I don't know how that affects the Enderman spawning in there. Yeah, ultimately, though, I am trying to minimize my influence on the base game. I'm trying to add, some nice little extras to the base game, but I want my mod to really pick up after the dragon. I want that to be when things become like really, this is when Craftamari kicks in, this is a whole new game. Where does it go from there? Type situation, which is why any of the dimensions I add will require things found beyond the dragon. I don't know what the functionality for all that will be necessarily, but it will be the case. Dragonstone is a potential because the chances of getting a significant amount of Dragonstone before beating the dragon is very low. You can, because it does generate on the island, but you'd be running around dodging the dragon, gathering it. It'd be easier just to beat the dragon, honestly, than do that. So there's that potential there. But I'm just going to have to see how it goes. But yeah, I'm very excited by this mod. Modding Minecraft is a lot of fun, even though it can be really annoying because because of the mentioned issues that I have said about finding out how to do things the correct way, a way that just works even. I'm sure people would have heart attacks looking at my code. It is messy. It probably does things the wrong way. It's probably going to break, especially when 1.17 comes out. 1.17 is another reason why I don't want to mess with vanilla world generation too much, because it's adding copper, it's adding all sorts of cave generation things. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm losing my voice. I have not talked this long in a while, and I've been talking all day. But yeah, I want to see where that goes, and like I said, I don't want to change too much, so adding my 3 new rocks, even if they are rare and stuff, was already a bit much. So I'm leaving it at that for now. If I have a good idea, I'll add it, but I'm pretty happy with the amount of things I've added. I still need to add all the slabs and stairs and things for my new wood and my new rocks, so I've got my work cut out for me on that. And then from there, we can move on to new things. Oh yeah, it's completely out of nowhere. One of the things I had for Blightwater was, though, an idea where it would corrupt mobs, like neutral mobs, so like pigs, cows, and stuff, and make them violent. That's the thing I'll probably add. That'll be one of the things that it will actually be useful for. I'm not sure why you would want to do that right now, but I'm sure I will think of a reason at some point. But yeah, other than that, it's very exciting to be working on this. I'm taking a small break from it because I really put a lot of time into this mod this month. So I'll be taking a break until the 7th. I'll be mostly focused on conceptual ideas while I'm doing other things. I'll be at work working and think of a new feature to add or something, but I'm not going to be spending any, 10-hour days trying to figure out how to do something, trying to add a new entity or something, try to get obsidian furnaces working. That's not something that's going to happen this month. That'll be next year. It'll be a big year. I'm going to be programming a lot, hopefully a lot of videos on this channel. Not just about Craftamari. There's Pico Mundi. There's other things that I'm working on. I never finished that level I was working on in, what's it called? Gary's Mod. I was making a Gary's Mod level. I still want to finish that. I don't know if I ever will, but it would be nice. And I was going to make a level in Super Mario Maker 2. I like the idea I had for it, but I don't know if I'll ever get around to that. But that would all be on here, on top of anything else I may make. There's a lot of things that I hope to do in 2021. It's going to be a big year. I mean, this was a big year already for me. I got my first Patreon subscriber. I got a lot of stuff done in my life that opens me up to work on programming more. I have an office now with a computer I can use 24/7, unlike my previous situation. And it's not a laptop, so it's actually pretty powerful. I'm in a good place, I think. The only thing that's been stopping me is a lot of crazy stuff at my job, as well as just still settling into the new apartment, which, because we've only been here a few months, and we got a new cat, and I got some pets, and all sorts of things have been going on for this year, besides the general world situation. Overall, it's been a pretty good time, and I think 2021 will be even better. But yeah, that is an exceptionally long Craftamari Alpha 3. Also, the third version of Craftamari on top of that. But lots of threes here. That is the devlog for that. That is everything I've thrown together. I am very happy with how this has turned out so far. It feels like a lot. I mean, it's no new dimension like I had in the old version. It's no items that can shrink and enlarge players and mobs, but it's something for sure. And I like where it's going. I like all the knowledge that I'm gaining, because every time I figure something out, I have that source code now. I can do it again much easier. Because even some of the simple things I've done, like, they took a long time the first time, and now I can just copy paste them. So that's good. And I'm building it up. It's going to be fun. I hope someday that this mod will actually be the proper incentive to where people will say, like, they're not just wanting to play on the Minecraft server just because, it's a Minecraft server that's somewhat exclusive, maybe because I play on it, but maybe because the mod itself is fun too. And obviously I need more Patreon subscribers for that. Can't just have a couple people in a world. You need a lot of people to really have fun in Minecraft. Servers, at least. Single player is a different story. But that is my hope. And dimensions are a big key to that, I think. They're the way forward once I get past this initial base feature set that I'm building for the game. Dimensions and farming, I think. I'm probably going to sprite more tree stuff. I'm probably going to add apple trees. I'm probably going to add a really crazy golden apple tree that will require some gold cost to make the apples grow. And I'll probably, at some point, try to sprite, I don't know, limes, lemons, whatever else grows on trees that is a relatively easy shape to make. Pears, maybe. I don't know. That's probably just something I'll be like, I don't feel like doing anything for that day, and I'll be like, oh, it's time to try to make another fruit tree or something. There are some things I do need to add, but they're harder to make than fruit trees. But yeah, I think I've been trying to sign off this video for like 10 plus minutes, so I'm just going to go ahead and end it there. Like I said, I'll be making a website. It'll probably be at cheesemod.com, which obviously this isn't cheesemod, which is my old server mod, but that's kind of my Minecraft location. I'll have a video probably at some point mentioning where the website is, and it'll probably be linked on my Patreon as well for the people who can actually access the mod and therefore actually need the website will have access to the website. And that is what truly matters right now, until we hit beta and the entire world can access it. But that is still a ways away. Oh, one last thing. Dragonstone uses the same code as like normal ores, so enchantments can increase the amount of dragonstones you get. You cannot craft the ore block though, so there's no feedback loop there. But yeah, that is the last tidbit of knowledge I'm going to throw out there. I will see you guys next time. Bye!